I'll jump in right here just to say I'd like to give a shout out to Whole Washington has an Author of the Month book club, the book club Author of the Month. So we have coming up soon will be Dr. Abdul Al-Sayed. And let's see, last time we had Wendell Potter. So please, if you're not subscribed to Whole Washington YouTube, please do that because you can see all of these. And then prior to that was Dr. Joe Jarvis. And I am from rural Utah, so I have a sort of special place in my heart and a special stake in. He has expressed interest in, forming up a health trust and getting together with organizers and doing all of the things that Whole Washington can sort of guide on what were the first steps, because they also have the ballot initiative process in Utah. So, and one of the things that so he wrote a book called Our Purple World, Healing the Farm in, there we go, there it is. And this is one of the reasons that I sometimes, and Fran has been crocheting berets in purple, in case anyone's just like really not a red person, and purple for kind of break the duopoly. Because I think we need to shatter this narrative. Here we have, he's a conservative doctor, and here he's written these books. We really need to begin to shatter the narrative that it's all just a bunch of leftist socialists who want and need healthcare. That's absolutely false. And okay. So you'll all check that book out. I've started reading it. I haven't made it very far because between organizing and tweeting and knitting, that's kind of where I'm at with it. But it's really good so far. I highly recommend it.
No, I think that's and that's a point that kind of gives you a little bit of hope that we're gonna get there on this thing, because I remember, I mean, Kenny, you brought up Obama. I remember in 2008, the candidate I was supporting in the primary was Dennis Kucinich, because he was the one who was really pushing for single-payer healthcare. Yeah, and I remember a lot of the conversations I would have with people, even people who identified as being on the left, that they'd kind of look at me, they're like, single payer, come on, that's never going to happen. That's a pipe dream. Come on, get on board with Obama or Hillary or whatever else. Now you have people across the political spectrum that are ready for this and are kind of seeing through the propaganda that was force-fed to them for 20, 30 years plus. So on that, how do you kind of, to somebody who is maybe just not familiar with what single payer is or how it actually works, how do you explain that to those voters?
Well, I like to talk about every other developed country and how they have universal health care and way better outcomes. Definitely, it depends on the audience. I'm in rural Eastern Washington, so I like to focus on how much money it will save and how it will help business owners. Because one big issue when you're starting a small business is, how am I even going to be able to afford insurance for myself? Let alone my employees. Like, if I leave this corporation where I have good insurance, nobody really has good insurance when it comes down to it, but what we think is good insurance, I don't want to leave that. It's too risky. If I leave that, I might have to pay COBRA, which is thousands of dollars a month just for one person. So a lot of people don't start small businesses because of that, or they start small businesses and they find that the cost of insuring people, employees, and themselves is just too high. So it depends. Like I said, it depends on the audience. If I'm talking to people in this area, those are the two things I focus on. But a lot of the times somebody will say, "Oh, it's just too expensive. How will we cover everyone?" And I like to tell people, we already pay for it. We do. We just don't get it. We pay more than any other developed country, twice as much in most cases, and we don't insure everyone, which is it's so backwards. It's clear. I mean, we have our neighbors to the north who come down and talk to us all the time about Tommy Douglas and how he's one of the most popular people in Canadian history because he is the one who helped Saskatchewan get the first universal healthcare system. So those are the points that I like to make.
And what I want to focus on with again, through filmmaking is telling the human stories, that are just becoming more and more prolific. Again, like back in sort of the pre-Obama era, I remember when this conversation would come up, that you would hear all the time, oh, we have like the Cadillac of healthcare, who would want to give that up, for a Chevy or something like that, right? Like we have this great system, and who would, we don't want to mess that up. And I'm finding that rhetoric is really disappearing, because it is hard to find someone who hasn't been fundamentally failed by this. If it hasn't happened to you directly, it's happened to someone it's happened to people in your family. I mean, being ruined economically or physically because of our healthcare system is becoming just a trait of being an American. That's just normal now. So shining a light on that is what I want to do. This polling keeps coming out that says 70% of Americans support universal health care. Well, 70% is not extreme leftists, right? That's centrists. That's going to be some Republicans. That's going to be some libertarians. So I think where the conversation has to go is kind of stripping out this identity politics and partisans, and getting to the fact that don't let them divide us. We agree on this. Like we all agree on this, and we can disagree about any number of other things and still work together to make this happen. Because ultimately, I just don't want to die. Is that asking too much?
Yes, it is. Everybody dies, Kenny. I don't know why didn't you learn this yet?
I want to be immortal.
And you might as well make some profit for people
forever
while you die.
I don't want to die yet. Okay.
That we can work with.
Thank you.
We can work with.
Thank you.
Well, I mean, and I think you're right on, because Georgia. Oh wait, I did it. I always do this. There we go. Yeah. No, I'm still fucking it up. There you are. I'm doing it. You have to just do it the opposite way. I'm pointing at Georgia, and people listening to the podcast later are going to be like, what the? Just don't point at all right? We're just listening to the audio. Shut up. Like, all right. But Georgia just gave a conservative argument for it. I mean, she just, because you said Eastern Washington, which leans a little more conservative than other parts of the state. So you're like, yeah, dude, I can tell you about it. But so you can make that economic argument that, yeah, this is a big hurdle in starting a small business. Imagine if you didn't have to worry about employees' health care and it was just taken care of. That'd be such a burden off of you, the small business owner. And, the United States, they always make it out like they're rah small business. They're actually not, but that's a different story for a different day. But nonetheless, you can still make that argument.
Yeah.
Laura, what about you? Do you want to weigh in on this?
Well, I find, so when we did ballot initiative 1600, and we knew very much, the deadline was July 6th or something like that. And so we very much knew, probably a month or at least several weeks out, the trajectory that we were not going to make the ballot, barring some kind of seismic shift. But we still had so many dedicated volunteers out gathering until the very last day. And so myself and a few other organizers in Tacoma went down to the 4th of July events here. And that might be a place where you might potentially expect to find quite a few conservative people across the board, but certainly that. At least that was that's my preconceived notion about going down there. So we brought a canopy, went down there. I gathered up all the petitions that I had that had some signatures. They hold 20. Each petition costs about $1 to print and holds 20 signatures. And so I kind of gathered up all the ones that people had turned in and that I had that were incomplete. And my goal for the day was just simply, we're going to fill all of these out. And so whenever I got pushback or I don't even know if I'm for that, I would switch immediately to the corruption and money in politics and just, well, do you feel that our our members of, do you feel like our Congress or our representatives oh, hell no, they're corrupt as hell. It's like, okay, well, this is direct democracy. We can talk about, like, let's get it to the ballot. Do you think we should at least have a right to vote on it? And then everyone can make their choice once they've had a chance to look at the policy. So I think focusing on the anti-corruption and the thing about, because it's pretty much across the board that many, many people understand that our elected representatives are taking our tax dollars, their salaries, we pay their salaries, and then they are taking those tax dollars and then representing the billionaire class. That's pretty much across the board that many, many people can agree on that corruption that's taking place. So if I kind of think that I'm talking to someone who may be skeptical of the policy, I flip it to that, and it's quite, it's pretty effective.
Get your news on with Ron. Don't you want to know what's going on? We're getting our news on today. Get your news on with Ron. Don't you want to know what's going on? We're getting our news on today. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You can tweet me an article at Ron Placone. We'll go through it together and make it our own. Get your